folks, it's Samuel Heber here with yet another episode of Heroes of Autism. I'm bringing back the Autistic Barber, CJ. We're going to have another discussion about his life. Also, get to know CJ a little beyond just being the barber. So, CJ, in your first interview, you define yourself more as CJ rather than by your autism. Is this something that your parents taught you to focus on, being you rather than your autism?
You mind asking me that question again, Sam?
Well, in the first interview, I noticed that you often refer to yourself as CJ. Like when you're describing yourself as you're going through your life, you're not saying, "Well, my autism, is the reason I couldn't finish community college on time." My autism, you weren't blaming your autism for, um, what you went through. It just this is the CJ experience. For a lot of people with autism, it's usually the other way around, where my autism stops me from this or that. How did you develop that attitude, basically, of I could do this?
So, to answer your question, Sam, is that well, I had this experience. Like, I have not told you on your previous interview that I used to be ashamed of my autism ever since I started to know about my autism, which even though I've been told that I was diagnosed at the age of 3, but I didn't know about it until I was in my sophomore year of high school. And once I've been told about that, I used to feel ashamed about it. I used to hide my autism, or as others say, masking myself. Until at the point when I was in community college. I was doing this big project, a final project on my communications class, and the big project that I'm working on is a subject which is on autism. I kind of feel like, oh, okay. I mean, I feel like doing a project on autism is could do something real well with this project. So, and then once I'm in the process of working on my project, I'm really starting to find myself. And I got this idea that while I'm doing a presentation, I would like to reveal, my autism. And that was when I was starting to evolve and become accepting myself with my autism. And it makes me, proud of who I am as of today, since then.
That's really beautiful, man. And it's definitely a process for anyone on the spectrum coming to terms with the fact that they are autistic.
And not only that, Sam, and not only that, while I was presenting to the class, I mean, I revealed all the students, in the class, and I felt, I revealed myself that I have autism, and people were shocked. Well, in some way.
Right, because they got the new CJ, not the autism. Often that's the struggle for young adults, especially in college. This is usually the first time they're around neurotypicals, like when did this close? I'm on the spectrum, and that's really brave of you to stand before your whole class and say it, with all the stigma, and also the fact that you had your own issues as a child, going from being diagnosed at 3, and then all of a sudden you find out when you're in high school. The fact that your parents waited that long to tell you make you think there should be something ashamed of with autism because they hid it for so long?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. It's just, I feel like, I mean, people look at the stereotypes of autism. I mean, well, not just the good things, also the bad things. We've been called as, retards and all the other stuff, stupid. You get the picture. I mean, I'm sure.
I went through my own period with that, where kids call me that stuff. Yeah, so
exactly.
So yeah, I get the whole thing, and it's often those situations that really, I think, force a lot of autistic people to put on that mask, as you described earlier. A lot of other aspects out there describe putting on this mask of being quote unquote normal, but For you, it seems like you just really, as you were evolving and got confident, the mask you put on wasn't a mask at all. It was just, hey, I'm CJ. Like, I'm not autism. I have more things going on than my autism, like being a barber. So, what happened after college? How did you keep building up your confidence?
Well, so I just happened to, being more proud of myself and doing what I was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I get into a point when in 2014, somehow I kind of, something like, I wouldn't say like something terrible happened, but there was this moment when, you know, after working my first year and a half as a barber,
Mm-hmm.
I just somehow got emotional and couldn't able to work.
Mm-hmm.
Which what happened was I happen to have a former coworker of mine,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he's like he was like a great person to me, and he was trying to help me out to be the best barber that I can be,
Mm-hmm.
like he's given me some tips and and ways how cut hair better and that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He passed away, taking his own life, and I also been told, like, I think a week later he had schizophrenia, and
Mm-hmm.
it kind of got me right there. It got me all emotional, and long story short, I was dealing with something called an existential crisis,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm experiencing, like you know like all like the environment that was around me, even at the barber shop, like I could not figure out, other than my autism, I don't really know why I existed. Like, why do I live on this planet Earth? Like, I mean, what is going on with this world? Like, I don't understand it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I mean, it kind of felt like I was having depression, but not really. It's just, like
It's grief, man.
I was trying, I'm really trying to find myself, and
Mm-hmm.
so well, okay, so like 3 months later, I tried, like, while during this whole process, like, I was taking some trips, like vacations or whatnot, to clear my mind, figuring out what life is all about. I mean, first off, I went back to my hometown of Chicago for a week, just to get in touch with my family on my mom's side, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, they showing me the love and support, and I told them where, what my problem is and all that stuff, and we talked it out as a family, and you know, they love me no matter what. And it feels good, being around with your family members, and
Mm-hmm.
then I took another trip to Los Angeles, with my parents, my girlfriend, and my sister, my nephew. We all had a great time, and especially though during those times I was spending time with my girlfriend at Santa Monica, and we're eating at a restaurant over there, and have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
It all these memories, all these moments, got, made me reflect on, what life is really all about. I mean, life is not all that bad. It's really that good. And to also think that, like, I haven't been working in 3 months at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, I needed to work and all that stuff. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I really love, cutting hair and all that stuff. So I was at a point now that, that's when I'm starting to realize, I'm trying to find, my authentic self, which, long story short, I became authentic, well, like, trying to be the most authentic that I can. And, you
Mm-hmm.
know, accept, not only accepting myself, but accepting others too. And, just to make the world a better place, and to look at the world in a positive way, so.
Mm-hmm. Wow, CJ, that is just quite a story of great story about self growth and, like, your self awareness. At that point, it's really amazing. A lot of people on the spectrum struggle to be that self aware and realize that they need to love themselves. in order to climb out of a hole of losing a mentor who also was neurodiverse, and realizing that, oh, maybe this is how we connected because we both see the world in such a unique way. And it was just a very powerful time in your life. And what I love about your story is you turn into a strength, like make yourself a better barber. So bravo on that. So my next question is a little lighter than that. So in barber school, like, what were some of your study methods? Like, how did you learn to like memorize things? Like, as an autistic person, did you have to make visuals for yourself, or for anyone who's like thinking about joining in the future your barber school? Like, what are some good study methods that you would recommend for an autistic person in barber school?
Well, like to like on the literature part of being a barber, in
Yes.
barber school, which, well, you see, like you have to memorize everything and flashcards. I feel like, studying things on flashcards, it's much easier. I mean, it's that's what, like what's easier for a visual learner. Like you see something on a flashcard, right? And you see like a vocabulary word, and then you look in the back of it, it tells you the meaning of it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, flashcards, help you out on the, very, big exams like that, in order to get what you need to get, like, achieve your own goal. And so I feel like flashcards are something that is visual, that can help you, memorize what you need to learn. And that way the more easier that you can get to your goal that you're about to achieve.
Mm. And what about the other side, which is like actually practicing on that? I assume you use dummies at first and then real people.
Oh, well, so I mean, there's nothing. I mean, well, with cutting hair, I mean, it's that simple. Like you just got to, like, I mean, what you're doing is hands on, and I
Mm.
mean, like you don't need any paperwork, or you don't need anything, to memorize. Well, except at the distance that you like, there is a specific way how to use how you do a facial shave, and then give you a graph on the ways on how you do it. Like, here's step one. Step There are like 14 steps on how to do a facial shave on somebody. There's, they have a picture of it, which I thought was you know which I thought was a perfect thing to do. Is, like, for all the visual learners out there, whether they're on the spectrum or not on the spectrum, they can understand it.
Yeah, videos are definitely, I think, a huge thing. Like watching someone do it over
And
and over.
videos, yeah, of course.
That was some really great tips. So, for our future autistic barbers out there. My next question for you is, how do you navigate the social scene outside of being a barber? So I'm sure by now in the shop you're very confident socially, but when you're going to, like, say, a party or some sort of social event, like, how do you go into it confidently?
Well, that's a very good question to ask, Sam. Well, first and foremost, I don't really go out as much, but
Mm.
when I do, I mean, well, I honestly, I honestly feel more comfortable. I mean, like, whenever I go out in a party,
Mm-hmm.
I usually go out with my family. Like, for instance, like, like my oldest sister and my brother-in-law, and even their kids, like they're in their 20s now.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I like, they seem to, at times, well, before this whole, the whole corona thing, like, they seem to go out a lot, and they like to have a good time and all that stuff. And even my nieces, they like to have fun, have a great time. And they're so used to that lifestyle. I mean, whenever I wanted to have fun, I mean, I can rely on, just to go out with these guys. I mean, anybody else, I mean, I felt kind of iffy about, going out. So, like, at times, like, I don't trust some people 100%, to be honest with you, but my family, I mean, I can really rely on and trust the most, and I feel more comfortable with them, on an environment
Mhm.
like a club or someplace like that.
Mhm. That's yeah. I'm a homebody myself, and like I mean, really able to when I'm with my family, really be myself. So I can definitely relate to that. But would you say becoming a barber made you more socially confident over the years, like how to like talk to somebody?
Yeah, it really has. Like, even though, like, I don't talk much, and I say myself as a introvert on the last show,
Hmm.
but sometimes I like to talk, and and like how I experience is, like, the more you talk, the more you get to know people, the better your social skills is, and
Hmm.
and I thought that was pretty interesting. And not only that, I mean, we always bring up. I mean, I think of a barber shop is not only a place to cut hair, but it's also a very social environment. People talk
Hmm.
about certain subjects, about sports,
Hmm.
fashion, travel, all the other stuff, and that's
Hmm.
what's really cool about it.
Yeah. Just a quick question: is it kind of like the barber shops we see in like movies, like Coming to America with Eddie Murray in the '80s? If you remember, is it like
Yeah,
that, or is it more laid back?
it could be in between. Let's just put it at that.
Gotcha, man. In the last interview, we talked a lot about how your dad helped you growing up, especially with getting your hair cut. And your mom pushed you to go into barber school. But can you tell us a bit more about how your mom helped you with social situations growing up? What was like her role in helping you socialize?
Well, I'm gonna put this in a very simple way, which is, well, the one word is love.
Mm,
She always shows me love and support and appreciation, and that's what makes me understand, that my mom, really loves me so much. Like, she always says I love you every day, hugs me and kiss me as a kid, and well, still kind of does. And I mean, she's the best mom that I can ever have, and so is my dad. Like, they both love me. They raised me well, and you know to tell to all the parents, you know who have kids who are on the spectrum, always show them love and appreciation and support every day. That way that they can understand your unconditional love.
that's something beautiful. I'm trying not to cry right now. That was beautiful. Here's
It's
another.
okay.
Here's another fun question. Now that you're a professional barber, do you cut your parents' hair?
Funny you asked, Sam.
Mhm.
Well, I do cut my dad's hair. Well, as of recent, not right now, but, well, when the cut, I got him. And my mom kept asking me about cutting her hair, but, well, I talked to her about it, and well, I can only do one thing, use the clippers and cut 2 inches on the bottom of her hair. That's the only thing I can do. And she said, cool. I mean, her hair is getting too long right now, so not bad.
I have to bring out the clippers. Here's another great question. What is the craziest haircut someone's ever asked you to give them? Like, what style? Like, you want me to do what?
Ah, I've been asked those type of questions before.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a man. I still have a hard time thinking about it, is because, I mean, I don't exactly remember when exactly I did, like, the craziest haircut that I ever done, and that made me think, like, what? Like, no way, that's not possible. Ah, man. Well, I mean, but there are rare moments like that in the barbershop. But as
Mhm.
far as I can remember, I mean, it's kind of hard to pick up, because I kind of lost track of that. Most of the time, I felt used to cutting every hairstyle, and
Mhm.
and I enjoyed it.
Are there for all the newest hairstyles? Like there barber conventions where you guys learn all the newest styles, or do you just keep watching videos to keep up with the trends?
I do both, watching videos and going on hair conventions, you know, and and you know about hair expos. Well, that's what they call, or like you know, barber shows.
Mhm.
Like the more I go to those events, you know, the better my social skills are. Like, see, like, for instance, you get to see all these barbers, right? And
Mhm.
regardless of the ones you there's opportunities, you know, to talk to those that you don't know, and
Mhm.
you feel like you want to talk to them, and you know, get to know these guys, and what they see in the barber industry and that type of stuff, and there are interesting conversations around that environment, and well, let me tell you, I get a little nervous, like getting up to these guys and wanted to talk to them, but
Mhm.
the more I'm into that type of environment, the more confident that I'll get. So,
Mhm.
like, I had this, I was talking to one of my followers on IG. I mean, he also followed me, and I even told him the truth. Like I remember seeing him one time. I mean, I've been following that guy for like more than 2 years, and I met
Mhm.
him that one time. Well, I haven't even talked to him because I felt nervous, but I told him that, and then he said, hey man, the next time, like, well, I even told him, like, the next time I see him, I will talk to him, and then he said, good, yeah, like, well, one day we will see each other again, and we get to talk.
Did you?
Well, not yet, but it's when when another barber event is gonna come up,
Mm.
it will happen.
I believe it, man. So in the last video, we talked about your process of getting your haircut as an autistic child, but now as a barber, has an autistic child ever come into your shop to cut, and you've had to cut their hair? If so, what was that like?
They have they have sorry, my mom was kind of asking me something that's going on in the house right now. But anyways, okay, so yeah, I had clients who are on the spectrum, that come to my chair, and some of them are kids, some of them are teenagers, and some of them are, like, a couple of them, graduated from high school, and you
Mhm.
know have they're about to, move on to their next life, being in college, or somewhere out of high school. And so, e- with the adolescents, close to young adults, it was, there were no problems there. But with kids, boy, let me tell you, it was pretty much of a struggle. But at the same time, I had patience. They kept moving around. I mean, looking at them, like they're very scared, like they were moving around, like that, like they didn't want to get that haircut. That those kids remind me of myself back in the day when, when I was scared of haircuts. And I mean, as you already know, Sam, and well, I know what that was like,
Mhm.
and but it made me feel good in the end. Like, I finished their haircut, and the parents were happy that they got their haircut, and they said I did a good job and all that stuff. I'm not like any of the other barbers that were impatient. Well,
Mhm.
I guess that's what they said, but like,
You
it's
were just
it's a
doing
great
it.
feeling. It's like, giving back your own community, and
Mhm.
that's what makes me feel good about it.
That's amazing, CJ. So how you see this child being scared? How do you get them to trust you? Like, is there something you say, or you just sit and wait for them to relax in their seat?
Well, the only thing that they can be, comfortable is, well, even though they're not really comfortable, but a little comfort. What there's a little comfort is, they having their, parents on their lap.
Mhm.
I mean, like I even remember, like, when I was getting haircuts, even though And, as a kid, like they were unsuccessful. I mean, I always have my dad or my mom, on my lap, but it's mostly my dad.
Mm.
That's what gave me a little comfort. But at the same time, I still get scared of the stylists who are, about to give me a haircut because I thought they were going to hurt me. So I'm sure that these kids, are really going through the same thing as I did, when I was a kid. But
Definitely.
I believe as they get older, they'll get used to it,
Mm.
even though it's
Yeah,
a challenge.
you're living proof of that, man. You're doing the very thing you were afraid of as a child. So how do you get along today with your fellow barbers? How do you learn to relate to them? Like, is it through shared interest, or like, but how do you get along with them?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, we're just, we're part of the same community, and I feel like, I really relate to these kids, and the young adults, and
Mm.
we got a lot of things in common, and I feel like I have this strong connection with them more than anyone outside of the spectrum. So, I
Mm.
mean, that's what made me feel comfortable, and some can read my energy well, even though, I mean, well, they couldn't understand it yet, but
Mhm.
sooner they will. But the parents truly understand it. They felt very, appreciated, and real happy about it.
Mhm. Yeah, I bet, because you do have a very calming energy. Like, if I
And
lived
of
near you,
course, and of course that
definitely
there is hope.
there is hope. You're like you're a living example, because you have your hair is perfectly cut, and
Mhm.
one day your kids will too. But the question really was about, like, how do you get along with your coworkers? Like, how do you guys work out, say, who works what shift, or who gets what client? How's that work?
Can you ask that question one more time, Sam?
So with your coworkers, like the other barbers in the shop, like, how do you get along with them? Because, like, I know relating to someone at work is different than a friend. Um, so how do you work communicate with your coworkers?
Well, like, as far as I experienced, with coworkers that I had in the past and coworkers, that I have now. Well, currently, I mean, even though I'm not working anymore, but as of recent, I mean, well, to be honest with you, I had some, bad experiences with my client. I mean, with my coworker, with a couple of my coworkers. I mean, it's because, like, I might have said some things, that offended them, and that's how they turn against me, without any intention. Like, I'm
Mm,
not trying to, like, make people feel bad and all that stuff. I mean, I might have said some things that are blunt without any intention,
mm,
and like sometimes, like at the time, like I like even like when I was a bit younger, like I don't know what's I don't like I don't know things some things that I said are bad things, or like or that hurt people's feelings and that type of thing. And
mm,
I mean, they at the end of the time, like, like they didn't really understand me, and like, well,
mm.
shit like that happens, like.
Right.
But but other than that, I mean, I did have some, I did have some coworkers, that are pretty cool to me and all that stuff, and do, doesn't give him, they don't give me any problems, and
Mm,
and plus I did have one coworker in particular. Well, she was my manager, and
mm.
she, let me tell you, she was like a drill sergeant to me, because I mean, I was on the come up, right? See, like I was starting to become a barber. I mean, it was like my first year as a barber. I mean, she was somewhat like my boss, but she's my manager, and she's really she was teaching me how to cut hair the basic way. And
Mm,
once she kept seeing, like, I kept doing the wrong thing. I mean, she was all yelling at me, yelling at me and screaming, like, like in front of the clients, like the clients, well, to be honest with you, like they think like she's harassing me and all that type of stuff, but no, like she was really giving me tough love, and
mm,
really really teaching me how to cut better. And and to end that there, like, you know, she was one of those people that, you know, that made me the barber that I am today. You know,
Mm-hmm.
she was the one that taught me how to cut hair the basic way. She taught me all the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Even if she was giving me tough love, you know, that type of stuff, you know, yelling and screaming at me, and she was doing the work for me, and, you know, she made me better.
That's amazing, CJ, that you saw it that way. Because usually, autistic people really struggle with receiving tough love. I would have just, walked out the front door when something like that would happen. The fact you were able to see that and then, keep doing your job is really amazing. Because most people on the spectrum really struggle with social situations like that when they're used to people being gentle with them, like in school. But in the workplace, that's not how it is. People are going to be themselves, and if they're a drill sergeant like she was, they're going to be a drill sergeant whether you're autistic or not. And
Absolutely.
um, were there ways that you advocated for yourself that that how you learn best with her? Like, it really helps when you describe cutting hair this way versus this way. Like, were you afraid to ask her for help, or was that you had no problem going up to her and being like, "Hey, I need help with such and such"?
Well, as far as I can remember, I mean, most of the time, like, I did not ask her for help, but she notices, you know, where I'm having trouble and all that type of stuff, and you know, she happened to come forward, and I mean, well, I did ask her a little bit of help, but most of the time I didn't. So,
Mm-hmm.
but she know what was going on. I mean, at the time, I mean, she was close to 10 years of experience as a barber,
Mm-hmm.
and and you know, like, she knows what she's doing, and she knows what she sees,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, and I mean, even though that, like, at the time, like, you know, like, you know, I was kind of a little upset, like, I didn't need the help, but in the end, I mean, at what I realized, you know, she really did a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
That's yeah. That,
and, you
that's
know, my mom got to know her a little bit, and she knows what's going on, and you know, she's very appreciative of her, you know, helping me out, you know, so
that's great, and it's great that you're able to form such a relationship. Because one of the big things that I say when people ask me why do people give tough love is because it gives you structure and it kind of drills home the point that they're trying to teach. Um, and it's really cool that your mom got to know her and she had such a great impact. So I have one last question for you, and actually it's a bit of a personal one. I have a chronically dry scalp, and like I've tried Head and Shoulders and a bunch of other shampoos. As a barber, what's the best way to deal with a really dry scalp that you just can't uh, seem to stop from like itching?
I would use tea tree oil shampoo and conditioner. Those really work.
You can explain how they work compared to like Head and Shoulders.
Huh. Hmm. You really got me through there, Sam. I'm trying, like, well, based on what I've been told, I mean, I really couldn't remember, but I mean, I've been recommended by, you know, like, my my barber instructor, my literature barber instructor. I mean,
Mm,
I've been told that you know, that tea tree shampoo, you know, it helps. It helps you, you know, like, not to have dry scalp. I've been using tea tree shampoo before, and conditioner, and it helps. It helped a lot.
Thank you for the tip, and I do like the more natural approach because I think Head and Shoulders more masks the issue rather than actually treat it.
And to tell you, Sam, you know, like, you know, not it's not to be ashamed of, you know, of having, you know, dry scalp. You know, it's normal. I mean, you know, like,
Right.
but, like, you know, like, I can tell you, like, the severe dry scalp it's the worst one. Like, you know, like you don't even want to see what it looks like. So I mean, I've been there, I've seen it. I mean,
Right, I'm sure you have, and it's just something there's some days I'm just really itchy up there. But I'll definitely give the tea tree oil shampoo a try. I'll let you know how it worked out. Thank you so much for the tip.
no
All right,
problem.
all right, folks. This has been another episode with CJ. We learned a ton about him and his life story, and I hope his positivity, his light, inspires you to either go to barber school or see your autism in such an amazing way. CJ, if someone wants to follow you or talk to you, what's the best way they can do that?
They can follow me on Instagram at CJ the Autistic Barber,
Mm-hmm.
and they can check out my website at www.cjtheautisticbarber.com.
All right, CJ, thank you for being so vulnerable and so honest with me today. Um, I hope you get your school up and running like we talked about in your first interview. Again, thank you so much for coming on today. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Sam. And I'd like to tell you that what you're doing is great. You know, you're doing great things. Thank you for interviewing me last week, and thank you for having me on again.
It's my pleasure, man. I'll probably have you on again for another, I don't know, other segment. I'll have to think about it. But thank you so much again. All right, folks, this is CJ Harris, the Autistic Barber, and this has been another episode of Heroes of Autism. All right.